Hey guys, here's the gear for today. Switching to the other Cella soap. This is the aloe vera, or the, I think many sites call it the Cella Bio. I think it's organic or something like that. And I can't really smell it, so it's a great time to play around with this base. Because of my COVID nose, I'm going to try another blade in the Carbon CX titanium razor with a mild base plate, the Gillette Platinum, and as you can see, it's just got a couple shaves on it, and so that's a nice sweet spot for it to give me kind of its best self. It doesn't have that roughness that may be there from the factory with some blades. It's been kind of smoothed out by a couple of uses, and so for me, a lot of times that third shave is a great way to go. Sterling High Mountain White, big old poofy guy. I did put some O-rings along the bottom to shrink him down a little bit to reduce the splay, reduce the bloom there a little bit smaller because it was kind of big. And then if it's big, it's not too bad, but if it's too big, then what happens is the brush hairs just kind of lay over, and then it's not as nice. You don't get those tips on your face like you want them to. And so some people choose, like me, to occasionally put an O-ring or something like that. It's another way. Doing that with an O-ring is also a good way if you're experimenting with a knot. You've sunk a knot into a handle. You've maybe used silicone to adhere the knot into the handle, and you wonder if maybe you put it in too deep, or you put it in too shallow. And so by putting in a couple of O-rings, one, maybe two, then you'll get the feel of the knot as if it were deeper. And then if you realize, wow, I prefer it that way with these O-rings, well, then you can make your decision. Leave the O-rings in place and just use the knot, or take the O-rings off, yank the knot out, silicone, you can do that, and then you get rid of all the old silicone, but then, sink it a little deeper, that kind of a thing. Also, if you have sunk it too deep, then the O-rings won't help you, but at least with silicone, you can yank it out, clean up all the old silicone, and add some spacers. That's what you would do in the inverse scenario. So Gillette Platinum, it's a blade that sometimes works really, really well for me in certain razors. It's not like the Gillette Silver Blue that, for me, Astra Superior Platinum, the inked version, both of those two seem to just work across a wide breadth of razors, different types and everything. The Platinum is a little bit more finicky, but man, when you hit it, it is wonderful. And so, let's see what happens today. We've got 40 milliliters of water on hand. I wasn't sure about this soap at first when I used it one time earlier, so I did scoop it. Let's load. Now, since it's kind of flush with the top of the container here, the loading may be a little weird, but we'll be all right. We'll figure out something. The razor is ready. Let me get my face wet. Okay, we've got this big old bloom brush. This thing holds so much water. Let's get rid of a good bit of it. Okay, and then I'm going to tilt you down just a bit. And this is you can see how the bloom is kind of just as big as the container, right? Let's take a lesson from our bore recently and kind of choke on the brush a little bit so we can keep it confined inside the soap. And maybe that'll, help us out. Let's do a 40-second load just for, to get a little bit more soap. Or at least to have the better chances there of getting plenty of soap to do the job. I mean, maybe it's overkill. So I started at 35, and so going to 40 means what? 05 would be 30 seconds. And that's what we're approaching, so 15 on the next minute there. Well, look at all that extra foam there. And it's very light and airy, so that's something to note. So obviously, I think this guy is not going to be the tallow formulation, right? And we've got a bunch of stuff around the side here. And that's just what happens when you have a lot of the soap container being taken up by the soap. And that's why folks like Barrister and Mann and Stirling and those guys decided to make bigger containers so that you have enough room to load your brush pretty easily. Now recently I did 2 shaves with the regular Cella, the tallow version, the red tub, and I kind of hydrated it a little bit too much in the first one, and the second one was better, but I might even want to try it a little drier because I just didn't have kind of a luxurious experience. And I was hoping Cella could provide that. It was very workable even in both situations, but I just wanted to push it a little farther in terms of going for a luxury creamy kind of experience, and so maybe that's coming in the future. So we'll just see what the Bio brings to us here. Now this is a big brush, and so often it doesn't take much before we are having a dry feeling here in the bowl, and so that's okay. That's when we start adding in some water. Now this is a different soap base, so I may not need to treat it the exact same way as the tallow version. Now this starts to slow down a little bit because this lather, is going to need some more water and stuff, and it's kind of going to dry out quickly here because we just got plenty of more water to add, and that this Badger brush has been soaking for a while, and so he's definitely got his bristles full of plenty of water, and that's nice because that means he's not going to eat the soap. And a big brush like this, and this isn't even like a 28 or a 30 millimeter, but it's just got a big bloom. I think Seth, maybe one of my viewers who also grabbed a hold of this brush, and at first it was really weird for him, but then he kind of kept playing with it and started to enjoy it, I think. But each to his own. Just because I enjoy it doesn't mean that it's going to work for everyone. Everybody has different needs. Especially there are certain people who don't like. I mean, this is one of those brushes that has very easy splay. If you want something with high backbone, then this is not the brush for you. You're not going to be happy. Big, poofy, comfy. You've almost got a 180-degree splay when you look at the hairs over here versus the hairs on the other side. Now let's kind of keep it on the dry side, right? Just to kind of mimic the tallow version and see what happens. Let's just see what happens if we use that lather right there. Maybe by keeping it drier, I might stumble upon a lather that's better than the two passes, the two uses that I had of the tallow version. Who knows? I mean, look at this splay here. It kind of goes from my goatee all the way to my ear. It's a biggie. Now the normal Cella tallow, it did feel nice on my face. It was just when I was kind of working it with my fingers that I was noticing that it just kind of didn't compare to Stirling or Fine Accoutrements, Tobacco, Barrister and Man, Declaration Grooming, Noble Otter, you know, all those guys. And look at that. We're starting to kind of get the build up around the edge. I'm going to rake that away. Build up around this edge right here. Don't want that to just get wasted and fall away. There is a neat little scent here. It's not very strong. Of course, to my nose, nothing is strong these days. Except for maybe some cardamom that I smelled the other day. And this feels very nice. What's the finger feel here on this lather? That's actually nicer than the tallow. It's also a lot thicker than I had that other tallow running, so I may have to go back to the tallow to let it remind me how it feels when you don't take it quite so wet. I'm going to add a little bit of water here because this is kind of pasty and stuff. And I can add a little bit more to the bowl, a little bit more to the brush. That's the one weakness of this jigger method that I use. I really enjoy it because I don't need to try to remember how many times. Remember, I used to have that syringe and I would refill it. And it was a 2 milliliter, a 2 teaspoon syringe, and I'd have to remember how many times I refilled it. And sometimes I would have to rewatch the video to know, oh yeah, see, there we go, that lather is nicer. I like it with the more water there. Very good. One of the nice things about the basin shaving that I've been doing is I was able to pick a different size table. You know, here in the bathroom, I'm limited to the size sink that I have, and it's not as easy to add more sink space, right, without remodeling. Whereas when I have my little nook and my basin, I went and got a decent sized table, so I have plenty of room to put my stuff. All right. Very good. We're going to start to get cold tap water. And now that we're in the beginning of October, the season's changing, summer's gone, and the tap water's starting to have a little bit of chill to it. Makes for more refreshing shaves. All right, here we go. Titanium Carbon Razor CX. Mild base plate with a Gillette Platinum with just 2 uses approximately on it. With the Gillette Silver Blue the other day, it was very vocal. I did have 1.5 days of growth. Again, we have a little bit of audio feedback here. I think a little bit less than yesterday, but really pretty close. I don't really like that kind of scrapey feel. Some people do. That's okay. Because it's titanium, boys. This is a light razor. And I'm having to kind of pull it through the stubble, and so because it's so light, it doesn't have a lot of inertia. And so you don't have a good glide feel like you do with a stainless razor, something with a little bit more mass. And there we go. Yeah, a little scrapey feeling. You could hear it. And so that's one of the reasons why this may not be a razor for me. It just wasn't designed that way. It was designed to have that audio. It was designed to maybe have you ride the cap if you want to. Designed for just guys who want a little bit more aggression and audio. All right. I did kind of stir the lather a little bit here because I had added some water, during my adjustment. So we definitely have something a little bit more hydrated. I think maybe this soap base here, the Bio, might deal a little bit better with more hydration than the original tallow does. Maybe that original one was designed to run better when a little drier, Big old soft brush here. Very enjoyable. And tons of lather. I did not need to load for 40 seconds. Got maybe 4 passes left in the bowl, and we've just lathered up the second one, so have plenty. Nice scent, kind of a low-key manly scent, a little bit of spice to it, a little bit of just hints of a few different things, just kind of a general purpose. I like it, manly type scent, but it's very faint. I don't know whether that's my nose. I think in the past I picked up a little bit of scent, but not tons. Now the good news is that this razor, even with the mild plate, is very efficient. It cuts. I mean, it just mows down the stubble. And so that first pass, while it is going to have that audio feedback, there's not going to be very much stubble on your face to make any more sounds in future passes. So you can hear how this is giving us a little audio feedback, but it's really kind of quiet. I mean, it's a lot more quieter than the first pass. And I think with this razor, I don't think I need to do, touch-ups like this to get that trouble spot next to my Adam's apple, But I've just kind of been doing it out of habit. Might be time in the next few weeks to put a few more, 10 more uses on that Nasset. It's at 450 uses, maybe take it up to 460. All right. I'm feeling very refreshed. I don't think there's any menthol in this soap, and so maybe it's just cooler temperatures and the cold water that I'm using and the season right now where it's starting to cool down here in the middle of the night. I haven't felt that in a while. And then on the third pass, it'll get even quieter. Probably could walk away after the second pass with most of the shaves that I've done with this razor. This soap base is no slouch. This is really pretty good. Let's feel it now. Again, that we I think this base takes water better than the original. It's got a creamier, slicker feel when this hydrated. The one I was using here recently from the kilogram block did not feel this nice when it was this wet. I think to get a creamy feel, you have to back off on that water, run it a little drier. All right, now third pass. I think with this razor especially, since it's kind of aggressive and kind of chattery, I think it's very important to keep that light touch. And I think the fact that it's titanium does help to let you move the head just kind of gently over your skin and not dig into any areas, because it's just because of the weight, you know, the lack of weight. Very nice. Any irritation built up? Well, nothing I'm feeling right now. This is really kind of a good soap base, guys. Hate to say it, because I often like the original. I often like the one that's been around for a while, the tallow version, instead of the one that they bring around. That's I call it the Scooby-Doo principle, the Scrappy-Doo principle, where you've got the Scooby-Doo TV series that was there for a while in the 70s and 80s and stuff. And then I guess the popularity started to flag a little bit. And so they had to add some interest. So they bring in that annoying little pest, Scrappy-Doo. And cartoon, of course, you know we're talking about. And it ruined it for me. I hated that little sucker. And I've seen it echoed. I've seen that pattern happen so many times. And but in this case, what they brought in to address the organic type situation, it's really pretty good. So this shave confirms yet another blade that I could keep using with this razor if I wanted to keep it around. I don't have any irritation that's built up by the end of the shave here. I'm happy with the comfort level. I'm just not happy with that audio. It's just so loud. It doesn't just feel smooth to me, and I to really enjoy such a premium razor, I'd like to have it be at that type of shave where I really cherish the feel of it, you know. So I think I'm gonna look to maybe trade this guy out. I did post a trade thing up on the Reddit Shave Bazaar, and so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, the another blade here, the platinum. I mean, it's worked just as well as any other blade I've put in here, and the cut, oh, just tremendously close here. Really good results in terms of the closeness of the shave with this blade, and this razor consistently just gives very, very close shaves. So this is a good blade and razor match, but it still has a little more audio and kind of scrapey feeling. Now, this one I could use every day if I wanted to, and so in that way it's more different. It's better than past razors like the Blackbird, Charcoal Goods Generation 1. Anything else? Like the R41. Those razors just were too aggressive for me no matter what I did. Whereas this one, there are some blades that don't do well, but there are several that really do a great job of cutting, don't irritate me very much, but they all still have that kind of scrapey sound to them. So it is what it is. Now, how much water do we use? Wow, quite a bit, almost 30. So 28 milliliters of water. And we do have, like I said, probably about 3 passes left in this. This bloom holds a lot of lather as well. This is a good soap, guys. I like the scent too. I mean, I love the cherry marzipan type almond scent of Cella, of the regular Cella, but this is different and very enjoyable. I wouldn't have a problem being stuck with this and having to use this soap. I really wouldn't. Aloe vera as well in here, in this soap, and the way this is cooling me, I wonder if there's a hint of something it's doing just a tiny bit of cooling. It's not bothering me. Some soaps that have menthol have irritated my skin. It's not doing that. I don't have any stealth skin irritation that has popped up now here at the end of the shave, so that's good. Let's put our balm on. We'll keep using Stirling Dunshire. It's not going to interfere with anything. But that kind of aqua velva blue type scent, I think that's kind of what this Cella Bio kind of smells like. There's hints of that in there. And so maybe there's a Stirling soap that works well with that scent a little better than the aquatic Aqua di Gio inspired Dunshire. All right, folks. Well, that was as good of a shave as I've had with this beautiful razor. And again, this was my Lather Games prize of 2021, the carbon razor, and generously provided by Carbon Shaving. And working with Sean has been great to just talk about the razor before he sent it to me and get his advice. And he's been just wonderful to work with. And his generosity is just excellent. And so if I find something to trade for this guy, I will then consider his generosity by proxy. And that, maybe since this razor just wasn't a good match for my style, my goals, my priorities, then maybe I'll swap something out that might be. And then his generosity can be honored in that way too. So just terrific of him to put that prize and donate what a valuable prize to the Lather Games. Here we are with this big old Stirling High Mountain White towel stropped at the end of the shave, and you can see it doesn't really have gel tips, and I like that because instead of a bunch of little sponges on my face, it feels like I like those just really soft, fine hair tips from the Badger. And now they may hook over time, but right now with just handful of uses on this brush, they're doing just fine. And it's a big knot, but I sure am enjoying it, and I like this handle, very ergonomic. This shape is commonly used in DS Cosmetics, and there's some other ones that you can easily get at some different vendors, but that one's a little smaller, and so this is a proven shape, and they chose a bigger one to go with this knot, and I really do enjoy it myself. I find it very ergonomic, works really well for the shave. And there we go. Yeah, good one. Good shave. Surprisingly good, this Bio soap, in my opinion. Still smelling very lightly. The scent from the soap intermingling with the Dunshire, and I'm liking it. The brush, man, that's a big old Badger, and I have been using my Golden Nib Premium Silver Tip, and so it has a little bit less backbone than this guy. This guy, while he bends over, pretty easily, and so you sometimes might be working with him in kind of a splay like that. He does that a little less easily than the silver tip. And maybe it's because of this long throw here, the longer loft. My silver tip doesn't have this loft. And I do enjoy how this guy is soft after the fact. He's great to have on your desk and kind of play around with. He feels terrific the next day. He doesn't get crispy tips or anything like that. He hasn't yet. And so I think that's just a delightful knot, that High Mountain White. And that's some variation I've seen among different brush knot suppliers. I know of a couple that have really nice high mountain whites. It's the Stirling, and I've tried the Elite, and what else? And another one. Oh, I tell you, the one from Umo was not as soft as this one. Its tips were a little harder, um, not quite as luxurious and furry and soft and cloud-like as this one. But I can't remember where the Elite one landed. I'll have to look at my notes. But I'm discovering that's a group that I previously had avoided. I was either picking the silver tips or occasionally playing around with the finest badger. And then I discovered the terrificness that is a certain subset of the high mountain whites. Oh, the Saponificio Veracino brush is a high mountain. Now they use some weird terminology. They throw Manchuria in there as well. They call it a high mountain Manchuria white, is what they call their brush. And that's delightful. I really enjoy that one. Probably has more backbone than the Stirling here. But the tips are very nice as well. Very soft, luxurious tips. Probably a little bit more firmness. Not quite as soft as this one, but still very nice. Well, there we go. That's today's shave. I hope there's something good in here for you to help you out. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. You take care now. Good night.